Getting to travel while working sounds like the ultimate dream, but oftentimes this ends up being a lot more difficult than expected. Trying to work a job or run a business while traveling and exploring new places can actually be kind of tricky. But in this video, I'm going to share what we have done to work a full-time job and run multiple businesses while traveling. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I'm Jen and it's actually just me here today. So we're actually doing renovations right now on a rental property that we're going to be selling soon. And so Will's down at that house doing a lot of work down there and supervising things. So just going to be me this week on this video, but he will be back next week. Alright, and if you guys are new here, we make videos all about traveling, minimalism, and financial freedom, and just in general how to help you live a more intentional life. So if any of those topics interest you, definitely consider subscribing. And again, today I'm going to be sharing some tips on how to best balance work and fun while you're traveling. It can be really difficult to adjust your behavior when you go from traveling on like a vacation when you're off work to traveling while working. It's a totally different dynamic that you have to work with. It's a hard adjustment for a lot of people that start working and traveling full time. And I know it's something that we struggled with, me personally, a lot, just trying to travel and enjoy myself while also maintaining a 9-to-5 job. It's so easy to fall into vacation mode where you just want to go out all the time and be doing fun activities and exploring and not really have like a routine or schedule. But now after taking many trips while working a full-time job, we've definitely grown to learn some tips for how to balance that dynamic and make sure that you're giving your job or your business 100%, but also really getting to explore the places that you're going to. So I would say the number one tip to being able to balance work and travel is to just stay longer in each place you go to. We found that typically 1 week in a place when I'm working a 9-to-5 job just isn't enough. Staying only 1 week probably means that you're using the weekends to travel to the next place, which really only leaves you like weeknights to go out and do things. And a lot of times that's just difficult because if you're working 9 to 5, you're kind of tired at the end of the day. So there's like only gonna be so much you can do when you're only doing activities in the evenings. If you don't have a normal 9-to-5 job, you might have a little bit more flexibility here, but in general, to give the amount of like time and effort to whether it's a job or your business every week, you know, you're not going to have a lot of time to go and do things if you're only giving yourself a week in each place. So by staying at least 2 weeks, but ideally 3 to 4 weeks in each place, gives you a lot of time to explore the area and work in the activities that you want to do, while also kind of not going crazy with trying to work a job as well. When we went to Florida a couple months ago, we ended up staying for a little over a month. And it actually worked out just perfectly because we had so much time, you know, weekends and just opportunities to go and do things. But I didn't feel like my work production really suffered at all. And in fact, I probably worked even better than when I'm at home just because I was just happy being able to go out and do things. I had like the sun and the palm trees. And so I was just in a great state of mind. But because we were there for 4 weeks plus, you know, I was able to just like maintain my normal job, and we had plenty of time in that month to go out and do things that we wanted to do. And just not having to move locations so frequently will help prevent getting more fatigue when traveling, because if you're moving locations every week, you will start to build this fatigue that will start to weigh on you and not really allow you to enjoy yourself, which is, you know, the whole point of all of this. So if you're traveling full time or you're taking extended trips, I understand there's the desire to just try to go to as many places as you can in a given period of time, but understand that to make this more of a sustainable lifestyle, if you are trying to make travel more of like a constant part of your life, then you need to focus on how you're doing that in an intentional way and something that's sustainable. And by kind of slowing down a little bit and not moving so frequently, you won't get that fatigue and that burnt out feeling, and you'll be able to maintain your work and have time to do all the things you want to do in each place. All right, the next tip is to set up a dedicated workstation when you're traveling. So whether you're staying in a hotel or an RV or an Airbnb or even like a van, there's probably some area that you can set as your designated workstation. And that might not be your workstation all day long. You know, maybe that's a dining table, and at the end of the workday, you kind of clear off your stuff and now it's back to being your dining table. But you do need to have a dedicated place that you know you can sit down every day and kind of put yourself in work mode. I know personally I'm a lot more productive when I'm sitting at some sort of table or desk. I could just focus better that way, but everyone's different. Like Will really likes to sit on the couch while he works, and he's able to still be like really productive. If you do like working on the couch, I definitely recommend picking up a lap desk like this. I got this one at Sam's Club, and it's really nice. Like, just got like a nice cushion. It's like a bamboo top, but you can get them anywhere on Amazon and everything. But I really like having this because, like I said, I like more of a desk setup when I work. I'm definitely more productive that way. And so if I do want to sit on the couch and still kind of try to be productive, having something to resemble like a tabletop works really well for me. And this one's nice because it's big enough where you can have room for like your laptop, and then you can even have like a mouse to the side if you want to. And so that just kind of gives a little bit more structure for me when I'm trying to sit on the couch and work. But the key is, you know, whether you're sitting at a desk or a couch or whatever, that you're trying to eliminate distractions, like, you know, turning the TV off, so that you can kind of just get in that focus mode. All right, so wherever you decide to set up that workstation, just having that dedicated workspace can really help with being just as productive as when you're at home. There's a few things I like to have in my workstation no matter where we are, and that's a computer, a notebook and a pen, and some sort of headphones. And obviously there's a lot more accessories that I carry with me when we're, you know, traveling and working full time. But those are just the essentials I think that everyone should probably have, just to really get into a focused space and be able to block out any distractions, what's going on around you. So I think those are probably the essentials. Okay, and setting up a workstation really ties in with the next tip, which is creating and maintaining some routines when you're traveling. I know firsthand that when you're traveling and constantly going to new places, the idea of having any sort of routine can seem impossible. And honestly, not having a routine every day is part of why we love travel so much. I think that's probably how a lot of people feel, like routine kind of just feels limiting and boring. But I do think that there is some value in having small bits of routine in your life when you're traveling, just to, especially for those work days, to maintain some structure. And having these routines really helps to ground us so that we can get into work mode and out of travel mode, essentially. Having some routines also helps to eliminate a bit of fatigue that you can get if every day, even when you're trying to work, ends up being kind of different all the time. You know, if you're getting up at a different time every day, not having a place that you know is your dedicated workstation, you know, kind of just haphazardly putting your day together because you're traveling, and that seems like okay at the time, but it will start to add up and you'll feel fatigued by having to kind of make these micro decisions on a daily basis. And the more you can set up these little routines, the more productive that you're going to be during the workday. And so then when it comes to the fun time in the evening or on the weekends, you can go in and really enjoy yourself, and you're not carrying any guilt from not being productive during the workday. So we do have a few like micro routines that I would say we try to stick to, and that's like in the mornings before I start work, in the afternoons when I first get off, and then like in the evening when it's getting closer to bedtime. And so I think that those probably deserve a whole video in itself where we can go through like what those routines are and how we structure the work days and everything. So if that's something that you guys are interested in learning more about, leave a comment down below and we can definitely make a video like that. All right, the next tip for balancing work and fun is to try to plan some activities ahead of time. What we found is that when we were in a new destination and we didn't have any activities planned ahead of time, we were kind of just making last minute decisions about what we wanted to do. And oftentimes this meant that we weren't really maximizing our fun time, and we were missing out on activities that maybe required a little bit more planning in advance. So, you know, it'd be Saturday morning, I just finished working all week and we're ready to go out and do something fun, but we kind of have to sit and take the time to figure out what we want to go and do, the cost of things, the travel time, And then a lot of times, like, there would be something we really wanted to do, but it required a reservation or something, so we can't do it. And then, you know, by the time you get out, you're only getting maybe half a day. And that can be discouraging when Monday rolls around and the time you had set aside for exploring and doing fun activities kind of just got wasted. This happened to us a few times when traveling, and so we started being more intentional about how we're planning our fun time. So when we're about to go on a trip, or maybe when we just get to a new destination and we're going to be there for a few weeks, I start by just doing some research and trying to find activities that we might want to do. Usually I'll use the Google Maps app, and I'll actually go on and look for activities, attractions, restaurants, anything like that that we might want to do in the area that we're in, and I'll actually save them to a list specifically for that area so that we can go back and reference a whole list of things in that place that we're in. Sometimes I'll also just search on Google or YouTube to find activities in a place, especially if you can find like a vlog on YouTube where someone explored that city or area. That could be great to watch because you can see what activities they were doing and really get a sense of like how much they enjoyed them. And that kind of takes me to the next step, which is I'll usually start going through the big list that we have, and I'll start prioritizing what things we really, really want to do, like a must, and what things are okay, you know, we'd like to do, but not necessarily going to be upset if we don't get to. And so I'll start usually narrowing down that list a little bit, because the reality is you're probably not going to be able to do everything, and so you got to figure out what's most important to you. So then what I start to do is look for opportunities to group activities together. So, you know, if we're staying here and then there's, you know, 2 activities down here plus a famous breakfast place that we want to hit, you know, I try to look for where we can group things together like that. So if we're making the trip down for one activity, let's knock out some other things that are already in that area at the same time. When we started doing this, it really maximized the fun days that we had, and it felt like we really checked off a lot of the things that we wanted to do in one day. Another thing we want to do once we have that list of activities that we're interested in is figure out which things might require a reservation ahead of time. Depending on the time of year and the location you're going to, you know, some activities might get booked up really early, so you may need to try to go on even a couple weeks in advance, you know, possibly even a couple months in advance, depending on, like I said, if it's peak time to travel to that destination and it's like a super popular activity, it could book up months in advance. So you kind of just have to play it by ear and you know like what you're going to expect when you're going to that area, and just try to plan ahead and reserve things, especially if it's a must on your list. So overall, you don't have to be crazy about scheduling everything into a time slot and planning out every detail of your trip. But if you can be a little bit more intentional about planning activities ahead of time and figuring out what you want to do, and like I said, how you can group them and possibly reserve things that require a reservation, the more you're going to get out of that trip and the more fun that you're going to get to have. Okay, and the last tip that I have for you guys is to understand your work needs and plan accordingly. And what I mean by that is everyone's work setup is going to be a little bit different. So for me, my work is a little flexible about me not having to be glued to my chair from 9 to 5 as long as I'm getting work done. And so, you know, sometimes maybe if there's an activity that we can only do on like a Thursday afternoon, I'll take off a little bit early so that we can make room for that. However, I do usually have at least one Zoom meeting every day, so that means that I have to have good, reliable internet all the time during the workday. That also means that we have to be careful about when we're moving from place to place. Ideally, this relocating would happen on a weekend day, which is also why we like to have a trip that extends for several weeks so that we're not taking every weekend we want to be enjoying and spending it traveling. But every now and then we have a situation where for whatever reason we have to move locations on a work day, and so we try to be intentional about planning that when either I don't have meetings, or if I maybe have meetings in the afternoon, we'll plan the drive for earlier in the morning so that we know we'll be at the next destination and on good Wi-Fi before my meetings start. I'll also do a couple of things just to prepare if I know we're going to be driving and while I'm supposed to be working. So I'm not necessarily going to be on calls, but I'm still trying to work from the road. And so I'll try to plan some things, like if I know I need to access some Google Docs for information that I need while working, I'll try to open those up before we hit the road, so that I'm not on crappy internet, like going down the road trying to open files and just sitting there waiting for an hour for a file to open, and I'm kind of like in a position where I can't do any work until I open that. So just planning ahead, if you know that you need web pages or documents open or whatever that is, to do that before you get on the road when you're still on Wi-Fi, and so you can still try to work as normal as possible while you're on the road. Now the key here is just to understand what is required from your job, because it's different for everybody, and to plan your traveling around those needs so that you don't have conflicts. If you travel with your spouse and you both work regular jobs while traveling, or maybe only one of you works a regular job, it's important that you communicate what you can and can't do. So for example, when we're traveling, Will's jobs are very flexible to where he can kind of work whatever days and times he wants to. But my setup is very different and I need more structure. And so he understands that. So he's not planning certain traveling or activities when I'm not going to be able to really accommodate that. So the key is just communicating with each other if you're traveling with a partner, and making sure that you both respect the needs that you have with your jobs. Also, if you're a business owner and you're not working like a standard 9-to-5 job for somebody else, maybe you can adjust the days and times you're working a little bit to kind of maximize your fun time. So maybe that means you work Saturdays and Sundays and you actually take time off during the week, so that a lot of the activities you go into during the week, it's a lot less crowded and you can kind of enjoy them a little bit more. So the key again is just to understand, like, what are the needs of your job or your business? How can you structure work and travel around them so that neither of them are suffering? Alright guys, that about wraps up the video. If you travel while working, or if you're about to take that step, definitely leave a comment down below and let us know. And also share any tips that you have about balancing work and travel that maybe we didn't mention. If you did find this video helpful, I'd love it if you could hit that like button. And if you want new videos every week about travel, minimalism, and financial freedom, then definitely subscribe and hit that bell icon so you get notified every time we release a new video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye!